Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. I have no earthly idea how chapter 326 was leaked on a Wednesday, but here we are. I actually just took my break at work in order to make this video. On Thursdays, I usually kind of plan my day around the fact that the chapter is going to release at this time and I'll have time to make the video and so on and so forth. But today's Wednesday, so we got to cover it immediately. So it looks like the chapter begins with All Might driving his car while remembering his last conversation with Deku. He goes to Kamino, where Deku vs. Class A took place, and he sees part of his mask laying on the ground. He then looks at his own statue and remembers his talk with Aizawa right before the war, when Aizawa said that just by being alive he is already helping a ton of people. But then he himself says that he can't do anything for his suffering disciple and that he's just holding everybody back. This is when Stain appears, pointing his sword at All Might and saying that these words are an insult to a great hero. So within the first few sentences, it is absolutely huge. We see that All Might, the #1 hero, the symbol of peace, even has doubts within himself and he believes he's holding people back. But what's most notable is that Stain appears and he has his sword pointed at All Might and he's upset that he's insulting the hero that All Might represents. And I know forever we've been anticipating Stain and All Might finally meeting, and holy hell, it's finally here. All Might recognizes Stain and says that he couldn't talk to him at Tartarus as he wanted, but Stain doesn't know what he's talking about. All Might then realizes that he must not know about his thin form and he introduces himself. And Stain says that he's lying, and All Might transforms briefly to prove it, but Stain continues to doubt. He says that he is an imposter and asks why he came to the holy land of a hero to lie and dirty his name. I never really at all considered that Stain, while in Tartarus, would have no idea of All Might's true form, and as we know, Stain idolizes All Might and believes him to be the true hero. And here, even while All Might proves that he still is All Might within his frail body, clearly Stain doesn't believe it. So I genuinely did not see this coming. All Might then says that maybe he was always lying, that he created an image for himself because he couldn't stand to see the injustices around him anymore. He says that the current state of the country, totally destroyed, is the end result of his efforts. He says that even though he put his life on the line, he couldn't help his disciple, and after that, he didn't even have the courage to talk to him at UA. He remembers the scene of the civilians handing the umbrellas to the students. This is kind of heartbreaking. All Might is taking the full responsibility and the brunt of what's happening to this country and the state of heroism as a whole. All Might even questions the validity of who he was as a hero, that perhaps it was just a mask. This shows the mortality of heroes. At times, they aren't even sure of their own conviction in whether they're pursuing what they believe to be correct. Stain then jumps towards All Might as if he was going to attack him, but actually only pulls him out of the front of the statue because he saw a woman coming. They both hide and he tells All Might to watch. This woman is the one All Might saved in Kamino, who was trapped in the rubble of a building. She takes off the sign that says, "I am not here," and she begins to clean the statue. Visible chills, holy hell. Stain says what defined All Might was his smile and his courage, not his power, and that this is the only version of All Might he can accept. He says that the current state is not the end result of his efforts at all. They are still in the middle part of a process. He says that the embers left by All Might have not been blown out even by the strongest winds, and they have been passed on to a group of people who have turned them into a huge fire that continues to grow. All Might begins to cry as he watches the lady. Stain then says he is unable to recognize All Might in the person right now, but if he really is the true hero he so admires, he should use the information Stain obtained on Tartarus and kill him, putting an end to the hero killer. He throws a knife on the ground near All Might containing a piece of paper with this information he talked about. He finishes by saying that this is all for the sake of a more just society, and All Might is still seen crying. The girl looks at the sky and realizes that the rain is stopping, and the chapter ends here. This might be one of the greatest chapters of My Hero Academia we've seen thus far. The man we've all idolized since the beginning of the story with an All Might is seen here as a complete mortal, crying before Stain, and Stain for the longest time has shown us as an audience what he believes true heroism to be. It is not about accolades or power or showmanship. It is the fact that he was able to give others a sense of peace and justice within this dark world. And now Stain reminds All Might of who he is, and he sees those that he's helped still standing by his side and cleaning up the mess that people have defiled his statue with. All Might, despite his immense guilt of not being able to help Deku, Stain reminds him that the embers turned into a raging fire. We can see that within Class A and the unison of the heroes and now civilians after we saw in the last chapter that All Might's embers are not gone. One for All is not something that merely is passed from one individual to a next. It connects all individuals together, and All Might was the catalyst for this giant reaction. What's going to surprise Stain is the fact that despite him being a villain, All Might is not going to seek to kill him or harm him. That's what All Might is, and that is the ideals he stands for. All Might does not operate on a completely black or white system of morality where someone's either good or evil. Clearly, he sees Stain has gone down the wrong road at some point. Obviously, he's hurt others. But at the end of the day, Stain is just misguided in his goal to live in a society where true heroism exists and the phonies are exposed. And as this beautiful chapter closes out, we see that the rain is stopping, and perhaps this could be time for a new light within My Hero Academia. All Might is now reminded of who he is, Deku is now embraced by the civilians and UA, and he is finally home. Our two heroes of this story are now uniting together, and what is the most central part of this is the fact that they realize that they cannot do any of this by themselves. They need others around them. All Might, despite being the symbol of peace for years, he can't do everything by himself, and despite Deku now possessing One for All, the accumulation of quirks passed down from generation to generation, he cannot defeat Shigaraki or All for One by himself. No, he needs those around him. In My Hero Academia, this is a story of unison, not a story of singularity. This, to me, was the greatest chapter of My Hero Academia thus far, and I am genuinely wound up from how beautifully told this chapter was. If you enjoyed this kind of content and want to see me ramble about more type of anime and manga, please don't forget to drop a like, comment, and please do subscribe. I know this video didn't really contain much editing besides some of my brief thoughts and everything, but this is one of my favorite discussions I think I've ever had on this channel. So guys, as always, be greedier, and I'll catch you next time.